stand up and introduce them. If not, or if you're a visitor that is here on your own, just pop up, just at least give us your name and like where you're from or something like that, just so that we're kind of aware of it. So, okay, okay. Have you done woodworking?
Yeah, pretty new to it.
Okay, okay.
Start getting into it again.
Welcome, welcome.
You came to the right place, Mike.
I'm scanning across, looking for. Did you?
I brought in Roger tonight.
Okay. You want to introduce Roger?
That is my longtime pal, Roger Schlittle. I've known you for like 30 years. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope. Looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
And coming forward. Let's see.
I'm
I at least don't recognize you.
Long time listener, first time attender.
Okay.
No, Bob Booth and I work together, so he invited me. My name's Jared Owen, and I've been a woodworker for a while now. I mainly do restorations. So, full furniture, a little bit of everything. So, yeah, I run into the chance. So,
Oh, yeah, I got to see you later.
You got the nice shirt for it, so yeah.
I got to see you later.
I've been in woodworking all my career. I had retired and sold my shop. My bread and butter was I built a rocking chair. Very similar to what Sam and Lou from South Carolina. That's how I made my living. Chair that I got on my pension out in a rocking chair. Now I'm just trying to build my legacy. And now I just build them for my old friends. I've made the cover on Woodworker's Metal twice now with my green furniture. I used to travel and do woodworking shows when Delta and Porter Cable meant something. Past expert for Delta and Porter Cable for a number of years. All my life I've either been woodworking or selling woodworking equipment, power tools. 2.5 years ago, my wife passed away unexpectedly. And I was sitting in that lazy boy chair, losing my life. And Kramer Village Supply offered me a job. And now I work for Kramer Village Supply out of Hartford, Illinois. And I brought in Kreg Tools, Saw Stock, Whiteside Router Bits, and Kreg G into their mix. Basically, they sell everything that you would need to build a playground. We manufacture our own metals, we sell the packages, we have crews that put the buildings out. And in Arcola and Arctic area, they're tied to rubbish private shops. So my job is I go on call to all the shops, sell them supplies and woodworking equipment, power tools. And I talked to your guys, I love to come over to the bar and do a seminar for you. I got 47 hours. And how I got so many of them, and the days when I would do a show or demonstration for cable, or with Eaton or Bob, they'd say, what do we owe you? And they say, well, we'll either pay you $500 or you can have $2,000 worth of tools. Ready to be, my wife has told me once in a while, like, hey, you need a fit and a router to match up for every single one, right? So, yeah, you know. A quick story. I was working for Woodcraft. I was the manager of the Woodcraft store in Indianapolis. And we were selling green junk bits made in China. So I called Whiteside and I said, I want to sell Whiteside router bits. So Whiteside router bits at the Indianapolis store out. 6 months later, corporate called me and said, what are you guys doing? You're selling 10 times more router bits than any other store. store had white side routers in it. Bill Whiteside sent me a package of $8,000 worth of white side routers. We got some sales at Grayburg. I got some sales flyers here. And if you guys ever want to do a group purchase or something, you know, if you want to do a group purchase on plans or something, probably won't sell to a low cost or something. Probably something else. And do you have something with you today? Yes. Do you have something with you today? Yeah. I have two $20 gift certificates. And then you guys have your tickets. And you said clarify something honest.
Does anybody not have a ticket?
Everybody have a ticket? I think we all over here didn't have one.
I don't have a ticket. I'll be honest.
All right, give it John this. Hold on, I'll take two tickets.
You must be in politics.
Everybody's got. Okay. I think we can trust the Kreg.
Yeah.
Pick this out of there. Here's number one. And here's number two. And if you'll read that. That's right. And the winner is.
Yes. Okay, I'm assuming I can get away with just reading the last three. 652.
Hey, we got a winner. Yep. Okay, and the second winner is.
The second winner is 664.
Ooh.
664.
Oh, so close to me, yeah.
You missed it by two.
Or 999, depending on which way you're looking.
Missing off. Am I missing any other business items?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good call. Okay.
We've only had about 20 people. So, a lot of people still up. Otherwise, we'll start sending emails out here in about another week or so.
Go for it.
Okay.
Just don't take up too much credit.
All right. So Mike, our president, asked me to make these challenge coins. And so you get these you earn challenge coins from the club by doing things such as I gave one to each of the board members. And then if you have a presentation or I want to give Jim one.
Y'all are.
He sent me input for the Facebook. Or to give you one to give input for your Facebook. So yeah, you earn one. Talk to one of the board members, and we'll see about actually how you can earn a challenge coin. And they have our logo on them, and on the back is our website and Springfield, Illinois, which used to be part of our logo, but we kind of had to change it because of the hats. Any questions on the logo or on the challenge coins?
They have gone through two proofs so far. Mm-hmm. We're going to a third proof. We should have pictures sent out, hopefully like within about a week, so you can actually see what they physically look like.
What was the address of the place? I had some mandate.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain. Mike's been really close to that dealing, and so I did talk to him this afternoon, but I did not ask him the address of the place. So sorry, guys. Well, you're the ringmaster now.
Okay, so a couple educational stuff.
Okay. Bob, could you move to the X, please?
is, the first one is Jeff Miller. It's May 11th at Bob Cox's workshop. You can sign online for that, register for that. We recommend you go in a group, please call it, probably might get it in there, could be a challenge. June, we have an open shop with Mike Rettermeyer, and I want for him to come back with a topic that we focusing on. July 27th, we have an open shop with Barrett Woolbright, and he's going to be looking on oil-based versus water-based finishes, the advantages of both, and also how to make a tapering with. And then, August the 3rd, the last one, we have Brad Robinson. We're going to talk just about lumbering and milling and all that good stuff. So it's long, in the middle. I like that.
And brats or something, right?
We're very excited to be here tonight. And I think for us, this is going to be a great opportunity to learn a lot about the Kreg Tools system. And I think for us, it's going to give us time to be a lot more efficient. I'm going to put us inside over here. You keep taking time off from the business schedule. I think we want to finish the introduction, but you're the central area regional manager. Right. And you've been with Kreg Tools. Yep, 9 years in November. So, good luck to you.
Okay. First off, I just want to talk real briefly about Kreg and where Kreg came from. And so, and it's just a really quick story. But the founder of Kreg is Craig Sommerfeld. His name was spelled with a C-C-R-A-I-G. Kreg is actually an acronym that stands for knowledge, respect, empathy, and generosity. And so that's why they changed the name, because he didn't want accolades. Kreg is a very charitable company, which is great. We do a lot of things locally and nationally, support education, support various charity causes and things like that. So it's a fitting acronym. And so, anyway, his wife wanted cabinets back in the mid 80s, and she didn't want any nails in the front of it. And so he started doing some research and found out about this thing called a pocket hole. And all the machines that did pocket holes were these big industrial machines, and he milled aluminum for a living. He said, well, I can make something that does that. And so he built this L-shaped jig, very similar to what you see back there. Except it was more primitive than that. And it put a pocket hole in at a 15-degree angle, and he built the kitchen with that. And all of his friends were just so amazing. He said, you know what, you gotta make these yourself. And so he started making them, going to woodworking shows throughout the Midwest. And this was 1989. He incorporated. They sent his job overseas, and he decided to do it full time. And that's how Kreg got started. And now Kreg is a $100 million company. Kreg unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago. But his son is still active in the business. So those are all good. His wife, actually, his ex-wife, is also involved. She actually does nothing but the charity work for Kreg. So a little bit of information about Kreg. So now I'm just going to dive in because it's going to be pretty fast. I'm going to talk about a lot of tools here, and hopefully I inspire enough information or give you enough information and inspire enough curiosity that you might be able to go out and see, because we've got YouTube videos for everything. Literally, one thing Kreg does is YouTube videos and things of that nature. Instagram, we're huge on the social media front, have been since before it was popular at Visa. So what I want to start with really is the pocket hole jigs and where they are and what we've done and how we've moved on to where we are today, and just kind of give you a feeling for what all's out there. So we've got several jigs. They all do the same thing. They all drill a pocket hole at 15 degrees, and it's just the ease, simplicity, and efficiency of how we do it. And that's why we've evolved over the years, is to make doing it a much easier process, much more productive process, so that and we brought tons of people into the woodworking world just because of how easy it is to do all this stuff. So the first one we have is the R3, and it comes in a little kit like this. And it looks like this. It's got two drill guides, because you always have to use two holes when you're doing pocket hole. Otherwise, when you join it, it's just going to spin. So you got to have two holes there to keep it held together. And the nice thing about this jig is you can adjust it out for just about any thickness of material with these little wings that just slide out. And there's little measurements on the back side where you can line up for whatever measurement of wood that you want to create pocket holes with. I'm actually going to make a pocket hole, but I'll wait till I get to the good one to do that. But we sold millions of these, and interesting enough, and I've talked to a couple of guys about this, because a couple of guys here have this one, and then they graduated up to the K4, which is this one right here.
Yep.
60% of the people that bought one of those ended up buying one of these. And they kept the old R3 in the drawer or in their toolbox, but they've got both of them because this is faster, easier, and better. So we actually replaced the R3, but we still have it because it's a legacy product for us with the 320. And the nice thing about 320 is it's modular and you can take it apart. You can put these back closer together or space them out further. You can buy extra spacers. So it just made the jig itself easier to use. In fact, I like to tell a story because it's a true story. I have a customer that was out in Seattle, Washington, and he built one that's about this long because all he did was build big, giant 3/4 inch plywood boxes because he did Amazon stuff. And that's where the crates where they store product. Had 5 drill guides that was about this long, and he would just clamp that to a piece of plywood, drill 5 holes, move it down, drill 5 holes, and he would build his boxes that way. And so very flexible little jig. And then we also made a micro version of that, which was just released last year. And for those of you that don't know, we use a pan head screw with pocket hole joinery for the most part. And I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But this is a smaller hole, it's half-inch material. That screw will only go in so far, and then you end up with that washing head sticking proud over the top of your work. So we make a pan head screw, which has got a smaller circumference on the head, and this drills about a 30% smaller hole. So if you're working with half-inch material, a micro is really the way you kind of want to go. Micro jig with the pan head screw. So we also make attachments for the 720 to 520, which I'll demonstrate next. But the K4 came out in about 2008. My memory serves me correctly. We sold millions of these. This jig literally financed everything you see here. The company was built around this jig because we sold so many of them. We had that old anybody see the infomercial that we used to have on way back in the middle of the night? And Kreg Tools would be out there, you know, and we just sold millions of these. And it's a great jig. We tried to stop making it when these new jigs came out, and we got yelled at so much that we just decided to turn on the machines and keep making them again. So there's still demand for this product out there. It's a great sturdy jig, and some people just love the design of that, and that's great. I moved on. I actually like the new ones better, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about the newer technology that we have with the jigs. So we used to have the jig like this called the K5, and it had a different clamping mechanism. It clamped in the front rather than behind because if you've got a big sheet, and you've got this clamp here in the back of your jig, this sheet sitting up here. To get around to get to the clamp was kind of a pain, so we put a clamp on the front. And the K5 looked almost exactly like this. It's just that it was L-shaped, just like this one, but had a clamp in the front. And you either had one of these or you had one of those. Now we came out with 2 different jigs. We have a portable jig, which is the 520 jig, and it's designed to go wherever the job is. So we always say take the jig to the job or bring the job to the jig. So the nice thing about this one is if you've got a really awkward piece, it's really tall or long or just tough to work with, you can lean it up against the side of a wall and you can squeeze this. This is how you activate it. You just squeeze the quick grip handle and it engages the wood and you can drill your pocket holes. Let it go and you can move on down. If you have a lot of work that you can do with the same thickness of material, rather than squeeze that handle 4 or 5 times, just tighten that knob on the top and it'll release it back a little bit. That's why it only takes me 1 or 2 squeezes to get right back to where I want it to be. Now, one of the other things that we decided to do was we want this to be portable, but for those that also want to work with a workbench, we decided to make a docking station for it. And it comes with this black piece here, and it comes with a pair of wings. So if you want to hook this up to your workbench, this just slides into place right here like this, docks in there, and then these wings just attach to the side. And you can secure it to your bench top using this clamp. There's a in the back that allows you to secure this to your bench top. Now I've got a a workbench model, and then I can just pop that out and take it to the job whenever I needed to. If I want to store this, I can just fold these wings up, bend these over, and I can stick it in the cabinet, and it's out of the way. So this is a great jig. I use this one almost as often as I use the 720, just because of the versatility of it. Sometimes I don't want to bring something to the shed. I just want to go out and make a quick pocket hole or two, and this is great. I built an 84-inch long desk with my wife, and I had plywood top, and I put 1-inch edge banding all around it. I couldn't imagine trying to balance an 84-inch piece of wood on my jig, and so I just leaned it up against the side of my shed, and I just worked my way around it and put pocket holes on 3 sides, and I could attach my 1-inch edge band to it using this. And so it's definitely a time saver, and it's just got a lot of flexibility to it. So it is one of my favorite jigs. And I'm going to move on to the 720. I'm going to get some of the stuff out of the way so we don't have so much clutter you can see. So the 720 is my favorite Kreg jig because of the simplicity of it. And I'm actually going to show this from the side so you can actually see how this works. And then we'll actually make a pocket hole. Has everybody here done pocket holes? I should say, has anybody here not done pocket holes? Oh, there's one. And some people refuse to, and I get it, but it's got its place. And so there's some important announcements we'll talk about coming up pretty soon. But with our old technology, including the 520, you had to manually adjust the drill guide block to the appropriate height, depending on the thickness of the wood. And then you had to adjust the clamping pressure using this nut and this thing, handle toggle, to get the clamp pressure set properly. With the new 720, that's it. It sets my drill guide height, and my clamping is completely automatic. So it doesn't matter if I'm working with 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, 1.5 inches. It's one motion. As I'm clamping down on that, it's moving the height of the drill guide to the proper height. The only thing I have to do now is adjust the stop collar on the bit. And we actually made that easier. We laser etched the thicknesses of the material on the bit itself. There's a window in the collar. So you just loosen that up, slide it to the appropriate mark, tighten it down, you're ready to go. That's all there is to it. The dust collection on this is extraordinary. It's the best collection we've ever had. I'll kind of show the drill guide block here because it's kind of interesting. We used to have where the drill guides went all the way through. Now we have this sacrificial surface here that you'll actually, first time you use it, it'll drill some of that out. So you've got a dead match for that bit. So now there's zero clearance there, so you don't have any tear out on your pocket holes. Works a lot better than the old version. And you can also take and buy our plug cutting bits. So now you can cut your own plugs out of whatever species of wood you're working with. And then you just saw this end off here with a bandsaw or a handsaw, and you've got plugs plugging those holes that you can't hide. So I don't have one of those with me, but there's a plug cutting attachment for the 720 jig. And then there's also a micro plug drill guide block with 1.5 inch material that you can just swap out with the existing drill guide. So we're just going to do a quick pocket hole here. This is our dust blade. It does come with an expansion piece that allows it to hook up to a regular shop vac, or it will hook up to like Fine, Festool, any of those others. I have a DeWalt attachment on here now because I just have a little tiny DeWalt dust extractor, but it sits right behind that drill guide. So it's pulling directly from the back side of that. This drill doesn't have this particular dust extractor, does not have quite as much suction as I would like, but it's portable. And I can turn it on with my wrist. So I got a little bit of dust there, but not very much. And that's all there's to it. There's my pocket holes. Perfect. For those of you that don't know, you do not want to drill through the bottom of your base because then you're going to have burrs there that are not going to allow those two pieces of wood to join together. There's going to be a gap. So we let the screw do the rest of that work, and the screws themselves are actually very high quality, case hardened, so they give a little bit. They don't snap off easily in your workpiece. But there's a lot of technology that went into the screw. See, the top half here is not threaded. That allows it to turn freely, so it'll pull those two pieces together, while this is pulling the very aggressive self-tapping tip, goes through the one piece and into the other piece, and bam, we have a pocket hole. I'm just going to run over here real quick and put this together. Oh, good time to talk about clamps. We do have a variety of clamps. We use our Automax clamping technology, and for those of you who haven't seen our Automax clamps, it doesn't matter what the thickness of the material is, just automatically adjust the thickness of that material. So if you get it in between the jaws, you can clamp it. The only adjustment is right here, and that's how much pressure you're putting on with the clamp. This is the face clamp, so if I'm doing a face joint, I can clamp these two pieces together. I'm trying to go fast because I got a lot to talk about here. So if I want to do a face joint, I can drop my screws in there and I can put my face frame together, or my picture frame, or whatever I'm working with. Now, if I happen to be doing a box or an edge joint, we make another clamp for that application, and that's called our right angle clamp. See, it's got a little peg here. That peg sits down inside of the pocket hole and clamps that piece together so that you can drill this piece. And if you're doing a cabinet carcass or something along those lines, you can just walk this down in front of your, right in front of where you're screwing, so you can keep that edge nice and flush all the way down that edge of the box. So I would say you've got two of these two clamps, and one of our pocket hole jigs, and you can cut, measure, mark, and cut. You can build about anything you want. Because if you can build a box, you can build a lot of stuff. So those are the two things, the two clamp types that we have. But we also make another type of clamp called a bench clamp. And you can use these in our bench clamp rails. This is our track force. So you use our track force with the 3-inch face clamp for bench clamp. And I like these because it really keeps everything nice and flat. One little tip, they drill in the hole, put your drill in the highest speed possible. This is a fine drill. It's drilled at 3,850 RPMs, so that's really nice and clean. Any drill will work, but the faster the better. When you're putting the screws in holes, the lowest setting you have is where you want it to be. When you feel that start to twist in your hand, that's all the further you need to go. You don't need to drive this in hard. You just want to pull those pieces together. Very strong. You can use glue unless you want to take the apart. So I always say be kind of careful about where you glue. If you've got a big project like a desk and you want to separate the top from the drawer boxes, leave that unglued, but you might want to glue the rest of it together. But it doesn't really change the strength of that joint. It's strong. I got stuff that I built without joints or without glue. It's still as strong today as it was 8 years ago when I first started building stuff with yes.
Do you recommend maybe putting the tip of the screw in a little bit of wax?
I've never had a problem, but it probably you can do it. I mean, I know it's a pretty common practice. But I've never done it. The screws are just they're just really good high quality screws. They're also a little bit on the more expensive side, but they're engineered and designed for pocket wear.
We always did 4 tips per week. We use the Kreg jig, and the only time we ever wax the screws is when we were doing building. I think it was so hard that it wasn't split. So we went, found out waxing the screws up a little bit on the paper, but we couldn't make any, on the other ones that we got.
And that's the first time I've actually gotten an explanation for that. So remember that and share with us. The nice thing about the 720 is that all of the accessories store right on the back side of it. Yeah, just like the 520. When I'm ready to put this away, I can just pull those links up. Displayed right in the front, right in the top here, and set it on the shelf, and it's out of my way. There is. Good point. Each one of the wings, and these are actually designed to be detachable, because for the first time ever, you can take these wings, set them out here like this, and flip this jig over and use it horizontally, like you can use it vertically, and this will support your material out front. You can also use a 2x4, because this is an inch and a half thick. Both sides is an inch and a half thick. So if you got a bigger piece, you got room to lay it down, you can work your way around an edge doing that rather than trying to balance it up here. 520 is the same way. The base on the 520 is 3/4 inch thick. So you can do kind of that same process. So anybody have questions on pocket hole jigs? Because I'm going to keep moving if we're good.
Are all of the screws S2s, S2 heads, or do you guys have any other choices?
No, and it's a really good question. I got asked that question a lot, and I didn't exactly have an answer until I talked to the product development guys. And we tried Torx, and it does exactly what their implies. It torques. And we found out that it was snapping the heads. It was hard to get the bit out once you got that screw seated all the way down. And people were splitting their wood because that Torx just applied too much pressure. There's a certain amount of give in that square drive that works a lot better with pocket hole joinery than a Torx screw. And obviously, nobody really wants to work with a Phillips or a flathead. So the square 2 is what it is, unless you're working with the next item I'm going to talk about, which is our XL jig. That uses a much bigger bit. I think it's a 1/2 inch versus a 3/8 inch bit. And it's designed for working with bigger pieces of material like 2x4s or 4x4s. We make a 2.5 inch screw, and you can see that this is a number 14, very aggressive. Actually, the threads are actually angled back. 700 pounds of snap pressure on these screws. So you can build deck work, you can do load-bearing shelving for your garage, whatever it might be. You're doing that type of work, we recommend going with the bigger screw and using the HD XL version. That's everything that I have for pocket hole jigs. We're going to move into something. This is some of the things that Bob really put on the list of things that he thought would be good for the club. And that is our cabinet hardware installation jigs. And so the whole thing about Kreg is that we invite in a variety of woodworkers into our facility or at another location, and we sit down with them and we go through these processes and we ask them, where are the pain points at? What are the things that are the hardest things for you to do? And we get a list, and then we start to address those things. And so a lot of the things that we came up with were everything from doing the European style hinges, drawer slides, holes for your handles and pulls, mounting doors on cabinet boxes is another big thing. Drawer fronts on drawers. Those are all things that were on those lists of things that everybody just didn't like. They said there just isn't a good way out there to do it. So we started with our first jig, which was a cabinet hardware jig. And it is designed for handles and pulls. I can barely see because I got glasses problems. They're hanging on my shirt, but I still want to get them out. But you can adjust the back here. There's actually measurements on here to adjust your height. And then you have settings on here, both imperial and metric on the top for different widths of handles. So you can just set your width on your handle, get your depth right, and then you can drill your holes. You go in a perfect 90-degree angle. These are hardened steel drill guides, are guaranteed for life. And this little product, we sold tons of them. And it made everybody's life easier. It's a wonderful little jig for installing. You're doing a single pull. Then this is your center part. You just pop one of these out and slide it in here, and you've got your center pole. So very easy jig to work with. The next one that we came out with was our hinge boring jig for the 35mm. Best described this way. Here, so everybody can see it. So you simply take this out. There's an adjustment right here for the offset from the edge. And each hinge manufacturer will give you, what that spacing should be. It's usually millimeters, and this is all set up in millimeters. And so you'll dial that into the correct setting, and all it is a cam. So it's just changing how far out the edge we're sitting. You take that set on your edge, and then you can, if you want it 2 inches from the edge, you just come up to the 2-inch, clamp it in place. And then you chuck this up in your drill, twist it in, and drill your cup for your hinge. You got perfect 90-degree angle and stop collar depth control, so you get perfect depth. It's just like having a miniature drill press attached to your hand. And so it's very simple. It's very portable. We have a lot of guys that are cabinet contractors and cabinet builders, cabinet installers. They keep one of these in their toolbox because even though a lot of the guys mill them, before they take them to a job site, inevitably somebody will forget to drill one out. And so they have this along with them just in case they need them. We've so many of these. It's a nice steel, nice carbide tip bit. When we started making this, we had one bit manufacturer. Now we have 3 different bit manufacturers to keep up with demand on this bit, so that we can sell these things. So very popular unit, and the price point on this is about $34. So the 34, this is like 25. So these are all affordable solutions that make everything easier. Another thing that we did was people want, this is the oldest of all of our hardware jigs. This is our shelf pin jig, and it helps you drill holes for your adjustable shelving. The old version of this did not conform to the 32mm system. This one does. I don't know everything there is to know about the 32mm system, but I know that IKEA uses it a lot. What it does is it just attaches to the edge of your face frame for your box and allows you to drill the holes. There's a register pin, so when you get to the top, you can just put that into place, and then just slide that on that last piece and just keep going right up your box. You can connect 2 of them together. You can connect 3 of them together. You can connect as many of them together as you want to build whatever type of jig you want to have. And amazingly enough, and a lot of people don't know this, because we sell this kit in a 5mm version and we sell it in a 1/4 inch version. So an imperial and a metric. The jig itself is identical. The bits are the only thing that changed. So the 1/4 inch bit is slightly smaller in diameter. So what we did is we just stepped the tip down. The shaft itself is actually still 5mm. So they both work in the same hole. One just drills a diameter hole. So you can have both of the bits and everything stored right on the back side of your jig. So again, another tool, very difficult task, very easy. Drawer slides. Again, one of those jobs that takes more hands than most people usually have, especially if you're working with face frames. You're doing like a European style. It's pretty simple. You just clamp it to the edge of your box and set your slide on there, and you got both hands free to install your hinge. You just have to measure up to where you want that bottom of that hinge to be. Mark it, set it, clamp it, and screw it in, and you're ready to go. Now, if you're working with face frames, that's always been the harder part. Try to get out here and try not to block anybody's view. But there's a couple of things that when you're doing that, you usually have to put a spacer in to bring you out to where your face frame sits. And then attach your hinge so that it's flush and has free movement in and out of that face frame. So with this one, we designed these little tabs. One sets it away from the edge, and one rests on top of the actual on the slide over here. This isn't by the way. but it's small, and I like this. Then I got both instruments. I can lay my spacer, nail that or drill that into the side of my cabinet. Then I just lay my slide right across there, slide that out so I got access to the screws and drive my screws in, and my drawer slide is installed. It comes with a left and a right version. Because when you're done and you're ready to attach the drawer box to the slides, you reverse these out. So this one will now come over here. I attach this to one side, the other one to the other side out here. I can set my drawer box on here, extend my slides out, and attach my slides to the drawer box. And it's done. Slide my drawer right back in and take my jig off and I'm done. So huge time saver, and usually like I said, you gotta have somebody there helping you hold the jig, hold things in place while you're trying to screw things together. So it's a great little jig. And is again, I think around $24.99 for the pair. So very inexpensive. This next one's going to be really hard to demonstrate without actually having a drawer box here. But this is our cabinet door, or cabinet drawer box, drawer face, okay, drawer face mounting tool for putting drawer fronts on drawer box. Okay. You just have to picture, if you will, that this is my drawer front, and I have an imaginary box back here. So these will actually attach to the drawer box while it's in the cabinet on the slides. Okay. You can then close this shut, and this is how you'll attach it to your drawer box. And then we can slide this drawer front up in here, and we can tighten it down. And we've got left to right guides here to help you space it out so that it's centered perfectly on your drawer box. And then for your overlay, it comes with a shim kit. I've got end set shims, I've got 1/8" shims, I got 1/4" shims, and if I put these two together, I've got a variety of different shims, and I can add increments of 1/4" or 1/8" to my bigger to get wider spacing if I want to. The hardest part about this usually is you're going to put your drawer fronts on usually from the bottom up to the top is the toe kick on your cabinet. This is the exact same height as a toe kick. You turn it sideways, there's a magnet on the end, and now I can make wherever I want to space that, have that spacing be. I can set that, I can get my drawer front started. And then as I start to work my way up my run of drawers, I can just keep spacing them out using my spacers to get all the way to the top. So very simple way to take care of spacing. You won't have to use two-sided sticky back glue tape anymore. So, nice little tool. And I think this one's about, I think for the whole kit's $49.99. Frustrating. This is brand new. Our original cabinet hardware jig was great, but it only went out to 5 inches. So we designed a more professional grade version. It's all aluminum. Still has the steel guides and everything in it. And it just basically kind of does the same thing. I can adjust this down to wherever I want my height to be, adjust my slides anywhere I want, and I can just same philosophy. Move my drill guides back or forth. It's got very distinct measurements in both metric and imperial. But it's just a heavier duty version of that jig, and this one retails for $49.99. So again, a very good price point, and this jig will last. Well, that jig lasts a long time. This is going to last a little bit longer because it's all steel and aluminum. So, and that's it. Just came out on March 1st. Drawer front. We got drawer fronts and mixed up. This is another one of those jobs that takes 3 hands is when you want to mount a door to a cabinet box. Somebody's got to hold the door, and somebody's got to hold the hinge, and you got to get a hand free to screw it in. So this is adjustable, again, to set your overlay wherever you need your overlay to be. You can move it up or down. And we've even got magnetic shims that allow you to micro dial your spacing in. And you simply clamp this on the bottom of your drawer, your cabinet box. Now I got one hand that I can hold the door, and the other hand I can use to put the screws in. So it just balances it, sets your overlay exactly like you want it. Again, when you do that whole run of cabinets, you're going to have consistent overlay all the way through that run of cabinets. I think this was about $32, $31.99. Okay, that gets us through all of our hardware jigs, except for this one. This one hasn't been released yet, and it's more of an installation tool than it is anything else. It's for holding your boxes together, your face frame clamp. So hold your boxes together. They're going to be sold in pairs, and I think it's going to be about $30 for a pair. But this comes out this fall. So it's got a little swing stop here that allows you to get in and be able to drill a pilot hole, be able to get your screw in, and actually drive that screw right into the other cabinet so that you can pull them together and have them clamped at the same time. So coming soon. All right. Okay. Now let's talk about just gadgets because there are some really cool gadgets. I think you asked about this one, right? This is a tool that's been around for quite a while, and it was actually designed as a tool to install door trim around doors. But it's so much, you can do so much more with it. First off, it's got a tape measure built into it, or a measuring stick built into it. And this edge here allows you to set like a 1-inch mark. I can use that to scribe a line. I can use this to transfer a measurement from one place to another place. I can use this to set my table saw blade height. I can use this as a right angle. Screw this back in, and I've got a right angle. Again, you can kind of start to see the application here for doing the door trim, because the last thing it has is a 45 for doing your 45s. It's got a level built into it, so it's just one of those tools. I have about 3 of these in various places throughout my house, just because I use it so much. But I have one in my shop desk, and I just reach for it all the time, because I'm always doing something with a measurement here, a measurement there, whatever it is. And this thing is just the handiest darn little tool to have in your tool belt. There's even a little thing in this little ridge here. It's actually the offset from the edge of the for your set off on your door trim. What is it, 16th of an inch? 3/16, yeah. 3/16 of an inch set off.
It's so easy to use.
Yes.
It's so easy to handle. What's up like that, right?
$19.99. And what's it called? It's called a multi-mark. Yep, multi-mark.
I think Bob Cox mentioned what's in your apron. That's always a fine.
This is an in-your-apron tool. I mean, it's an accessory that you'll be amazed at how many times you'll reach for this thing. It's fantastic. So we've probably all seen a tool like this before. Got a drill guide, we got a flip driver. One of the materials that we use quite extensively is a product that we have called Grit Max. And we use it in our jigs, we use it on our accessories here, we use it on the drawer front installation tool. You'll find it throughout a lot of different Kreg products, but it's just got this weird, wacky property that just allows it to grip a surface, even if it has sawdust on it. It grips very well. So when you're actually doing that 90-degree hole, and you don't want that dancing around on your wood while you're doing it, it holds it in place so that you get that angle going in without having to move around on you. But Kreg, being what they are, decided that they wanted to have it be a little bit more flexible. So we channeled it out And it self-centers on 3/4 inch wood and 1/2 inch wood, so you can actually use this as a doweling jig if you want to. So it kind of gives you a multi-use capabilities. And this is our flip driver. And the reason why we came out with this is because nobody made a counter bore or a countersink for washer head screws. They're all conical. This drills a flat bottom countersink, so that you can use our screws to do face joints if you're going in from the edge and you're going in at a 90 degree angle instead of doing a pocket hole, because a lot of people just use these screws for more than just pocket holes. And you can just drill that hole out. It's got the pilot hole in there. Flip it over. There's a number 2 driver to drive it. And when you're done, you can just take a 8-inch dowel and plug that hole. And you're pretty much invisible if you line up your green. The other nice thing is that the actual tool, the Allen key for changing out your bits, is right on the chuck itself. It's right in there. I can change my bits without having to go try to find an Allen key to change my bits. $14.99. Not at all. If you guys want to take a closer look at any of this stuff, you're welcome to pass a few things around.
You've got a website, right, that we can
Yes.
order this stuff off of?
Yep. We really try to, I really push people out into the retail environment if possible. The website's there. We use it to gather more insights than anything else. It helps us know if the tool is being successful or not. We get information from our buyers and things like that. But you can order from our website. You can order from Amazon. You can find a lot of the products in Lowe's and Depot. But usually our independent retailers, and I'm not just blowing smoke with gravers, but they're going to have about 3 times as much as Lowe's or Home Depot is going to have in their assortment. So you'll be able to find
So we took advantage of Craig's best deal. Our prices are about 40% cheaper than anything I could find.
the last in the gadget world is just we did a 90-degree driver because we didn't like what was available out there in the market because it just didn't feel right in the hand. We also wanted it to be impact rated, and we wanted it to have mechanical bit retention instead of a magnet. And I'll pass this around because you can tell when you spin that, it is a very robust tool. It will hold up, but just the way it fits in your hand to get into those tight spaces if you're drilling at 90 degrees inside a box or something like that, is one of the best right angle attachments that I've ever put my hands on. So before we get too far out of the way here, because I think I just about got through everything on this table with the exception of 2 things here. Last fall, we introduced our first line of quick grip clamps. And you say, why did Kreg ever come out with grips? You know, everybody's got a quick grip clamp. There's 17 different brands out there. You know what Kreg does? Our product development guys are brilliant. One of the things that everybody thinks about the quick grip clamps is that bar is always sticking right up in your face, in your workspace. Or you can turn around and try to clamp from the bottom. Or if you're working in a tight space and you're trying to get in there with this clamp, and it might not give you the access to be able to do that. So what we designed was a movable. This is patented. You can put that clamping mechanism anywhere along the bar if you want that clamping mechanism to be. I can pop this out. I can drop that. Just like I can use it as a regular clamp. So it's got all of the traditional capabilities to give you the flexibility where you want that clamping activity to happen along the bar. We have them in 6-inch, 12-inch, 24, and 36. And just a warning, when you first get it, it will be a little bit stiff because of the way that action is designed. But as you use it, you can see this one right here, it moves pretty freely in there. This is the one I love because I'm almost 60 years old and I hate carrying plywood. And usually, a lot of them, it's like you gotta lift up your plywood before you can put your holder on there to carry your plywood. So we designed this one. There are some other versions of this out there, but we have our Max material again inside this particular product. No, the better it grips, and you can carry your wood with your shoulder and using your knees to lift instead of having to try to bend over and lift it up that way. Makes carrying sheet goods way easier than ever before. And the price point on this. The other ones that are out there were about $50. This is $24.99, so about half the price. And the handle's better, the gripping action is better. It's a better designed handle carrier. Okay. Lessons again. Rare earth magnet stud finder. Okay. Most people have been doing this for a lot of people have been doing this for a lot of years. They just faster where the fastener is attaching the drywall to the stud. Finding a screw with a nail, whatever that might be, anywhere along it, it finds it, and it draws itself right to it. And again, you're welcome to compare play with this when you're done. This one retails for about $11. So it's nice because it has nice rounded edges, so it's not going to take the texture off your wall or do anything to hurt your wall. And it's got marking places on there so you can mark your stud. This is the one that I love though, and we have a patent on this as well. When you find that stud and you level it out where you want it to be, push a button and it shoots a laser beam up the stud. Yes. This runs $29.99. And I've had more success with that one with this than I've had with any other brand of stud finders that I've used today. And I think I have 2 or 3 of them. Yep, you got both. But it's a cool, one of the coolest things in our product development.
We already saw it.
This way. Yep, we got screws here. The rare earth magnets that we use are about 30% stronger than any other rare earth magnet stud finder on the market, so it finds those screws very easily. Doesn't take very long. You want to hopefully run along the wall here and try to find the stud along. More than happy to do it. So
Does it work with flat?
doesn't work with plaster. Yeah. Be a good try. The only other thing I'm going to talk about is just this because it's very quick. Right over to our cutting tools. Because I know we're getting pretty tight on time, 7 o'clock. But Kreg last fall introduced a line of hardwood bench tops. And we have 4 different sizes. We have all 4 of those sizes in the solid top or bench tops. Those sizes correspond with, if you've ever seen our U-bench system, you can pick up a catalog on the way out, you'll be able to look up the U-bench system, but what it is it's an angle iron, it's all blue, it's very pretty, but it's an angle iron frame for building a workbench. We never had a top for it. So we took our 4 most popular sizes and we created tops for them. The wood on this is called the band. I don't know if anybody's heard of that particular wood before, but what it is a byproduct of the rubber tree. So when they harvest the rubber trees and they get all the rubber out of those, this is what's left. And it has a very similar density and consistency to maple. Very hard, holds up very well. I got a bunch of scratches in mine because I've been carrying it around for a year and a half. But they're excellent, high quality bench tops. And you can buy one of these in a bench kit starting at about $200 for a small one and then go on up. But the cool thing is that U-bench system allows you to build that workbench out any way you want. You can put panels around and put drawers in, cabinet doors, anything you want. You can customize those workbenches any way you want. Put it on casters, make it movable. Now you got a top you can put on this manufactured by Kreg. It gives you something that you can use as a hardwood top. So before I'm going to invite people up to kind of stand around while I do this because it's kind of what I do. I just want to talk really quickly about a couple of router accessories that we have. and one more gadget. But how many people here do your roundovers with a paint can and a pen, ink pen and a jigsaw?
Yeah.
We sell router tables, different models of router tables. They're both rated 4.5, 5 stars. We have a web platform to look at. They're excellent router tables. But we started doing a little bit more with that category. And one of the things that people were frustrated about was being able to do roundovers on corners, whether they're working with charcuterie boards or whatever it is that they're building. So we wanted to make a kit that would allow you to do roundovers, but we wanted to be versatile enough that you could use a hand router, a trim router, or even your table router to use this jig. And that's one of the drawbacks of anything that was on the market was it was either for a hand router, it was for a router table, but it wasn't for both. The other thing was that they were pretty pricey, and I think you get like 3 different profiles. We give you 8. So you get 8 different profiles, 5 roundovers, and 3 campers. And those just snap in place. I just say whatever I want to have in that rack that I want, and I snap it in place, and it's ready to go. I got 4 posts here on the bottom, and they're brick mass material. The lines me right up with my corner, and I can take whatever router, if I'm using a trim router or a hand router, it's not going anywhere. That holds it in place very, very well. If I'm on my router table, I can just take it to my router table and use it that way. So it's a great little tool. And $44.99, I think, for the entire kit makes it very, very affordable. Not as inexpensive as paint cans, but the results are going to be much, much better. So we also came out with a couple of half-inch shank and a quarter-inch shank dual bearing router bits, cluster bits, that will help people get on their journey if they want to get there up here. So router bits are available for those as well. But you're Mr. Whiteside over there. You don't need any of this. So people ask me about these, and I got these again. We're using our grip max material. You'll probably see trucks. They're out there that hold your material in place, so you can use sanding, doing all kinds of fun things like that. You know, just a profile of a router. This will keep your piece nice and secure and will not move while you're doing that work. Now, you right here at track saws. Okay. You can also use these with 2x4 stuck in between and lay material on there and get you up off your workbench or off the ground to give you an elevated cutting surface and support with that 2x4, sacrificial support to keep your piece from falling in. So you can use it with track saws to do your cutting. So you got cutting, sanding, routing, all kinds of things. And when you get to the final stage and you're ready to paint or sand or stain on your project, you twist it, painter's point out the top. Oh, really good. It's got a nice wide stable base so it doesn't fall over. And it's just, again, a very well thought out product. Got grip max material. I don't know what kind of glue they use. But I've got paint on these things. I've got sawdust down in the holes. I've got gunk down in the holes. And there's a little button on the side that pushes that in and out like that. Just twist, twist. But they're $19.99 for a set of 4, so very affordable. And most people are kind of familiar because we're not the only ones that make these, but we are one of the other ones that make a really high quality set of these. And these are router tables. And so they're designed so you can set this right over the top of your bit. They're all different quality measurements are here. Yeah, you can use a table saw as well. So it's basically just a gap there where you can set, you can raise your router bit up until it's just touching that bottom surface, and you know you have your router bit set to the right height. You can go ahead and create a flag with a piece of scrap, and you can measure to make sure that notch is correctly is the proper depth. And like it is a dado, you can use it to measure your dados. It's just it's all done in aluminum. They're heavy duty. They're very nice. And surprisingly, you know, they're kind of expensive, but we sell a lot of these, and they're just really a great high quality accessory for your router table. I think these are about $70 for a set 4. I don't know if you want to pass this around or not. Okay. This is the big behemoth in the room. Has anybody heard of the adaptive cutting system before from Kreg? Maybe not. So we designed a track saw based cutting system that will allow you to do literally 90 to 95% of all of the cuts you can do on a miter saw and the table saw combined, and do them very, very accurately and in a very, very safe manner. We had a little conversation earlier about digits. Some have less than others. This is all one saw based, so as you're making your cuts, the blade is always shrouded inside the saw. I don't have to worry about both my hands are going to be on the outside of my saw. So it's a very safe cutting method. The thing we wanted to be able to do is we wanted you to be able to do all your measuring and all that work on the table, so you don't have to measure and mark to make your cuts, and I'll show you how that works exactly. But the first thing you have to do when you set this table up is we have to make sure that this edge is in perfect alignment as a parallel to this bench dog pattern on the table. So we put two bench dog holes up here in front. And I put those two in. And I lower my track down. I can adjust this on the side so that you want that edge, and you'll trim that first time you get it, just like any other track saw, so you guys learn recutting. You want those touching so that you know that we're square now with that bench dog pattern, and we'll tighten this back down. And I had to move this all the way out here from Des Moines to the back of my truck, and it's still square. So it holds its edge. Comes with a set of 4 bench dogs. We got larger dogs we use back on the back side of the table. We've got smaller dogs that we can use underneath the front edge of the track. And I'll explain why we do that. So once we have that edge done, again, it's going to be hard to see, but if anybody wants to come up and look closer, you can, or you can look at it at the end. In the top of my table, I actually have 2 sets of measuring tapes on each side here. And I can slide those. You got a friction stop up front. I can slide these. This is I got 2 sets of repetitive stops. I can slide these exactly 10 inches long each. So if I want to take my track down, I can slide that underneath the track, and I can set my tapes at 10 and 0. Okay, so one side says 10, one side says 0. I do the same thing to the other side because I can use these stops in 2 different ways. But this way, if I'm making a really narrow cut to the front, I can slide this up underneath to get really short cuts, but I can set my measurement back here. I'm going to use my right side tapes because that's accommodating for the 10 inches I have here. So I set that at 3 inches. And I set this at 3 inches. I created a stop here. And I can slide my lumber in here. And that's my 3-inch cut. And as long as you've got that calibrated properly, it's going to be dead on square. In fact, trim that edge off, and I know that that is a perfectly straight edge. Then I can create a right angle using my edge dog. I'm going to take that edge that I trimmed, and I'm going to put it right up against that right angle, slide it back. I'll cut trim one side out, and I've got two sides that are square. Then I can just split that anchor in. Now I've got three sides that are square, and then I can drop my competitive stops back in and set those for whatever depth I want that board to be cut at. Let's just say I wanted to turn this into a bunch of 1x2s. I could trim these down to 1x2s, and they would all be perfectly square. So it's really a brilliant cutting tool. The other thing that is really nice about this is that I can do all sorts of different angles. It comes with a miter gauge that just slides into the track. Alright, so I've got a miter gauge that comes with it. This allows me to go from 0 to 260 degrees. So if I want to set that at 22 and a half, I set that at 22 and a half, and I can run, this is actually 22 and a half right here. Just run that up, drop track down, and there's a 22 and a half. Now I can do 45s on this, but there's actually a better way on this table to do 45s than using the miter gauge. You also have to do how you set up the miter gauge. If you're doing a narrow piece, I do recommend that to support it. That'll help keep track from going a little bit. Really, I've cut boards both ways and still cuts it straight, but it's just a lot more comfortable if you have some support. One of the nice things about this is that I have that bench dog in here. This angle right here is a perfect 45-degree angle. So if I'm doing 45, this is my 45. You slide that up here, drop that down, and you see that's right at a 45-degree angle. What that in essence does, I can actually cut it. Let's just say I'm doing a miter frame. I'm doing a miter frame, and I want to make sure that all my pieces are cut to the same length, whether I have different sizes of rails or different sizes on my styles. What's nice is I've got such command over the depth of my cuts here. So let's just say I wanted to do 10 boards that were all 12 inches long. I set this at 12 inches. I put one repetitive stop right here. I've got another one up underneath the track. I can slide that in at a 90-degree angle. I can drop that down. I can make as many boards exactly 12 inches long. And even if I'm off by a little bit, every single one of them is going to be off by that same amount. So I'm still going to have 12 pieces that are all the same length. Very difficult to do with a chop saw and a measuring pin. Unless you got a track and stop type system on your miter saw, this is an absolute game changer when it comes to cutting the lengths. But to elaborate on that point, if I'm doing rails and styles and I want 45s up in the corners, I can cut my boards to length before I put the 45 on there. So I've cut all my boards to 12 inches and now I'm ready to put my 45s on. Because I know exactly where that saw blade's going to travel, I can line up the far edge of that board, a square board. Put the edge of that track. I put the 45 on there. I have cut all of my length on this board. I haven't lost a single inch. I haven't lost a 16th. I haven't lost a 32nd. It's kept everything consistently long. And now, I've got 4 pieces of wood that are going to go together extremely well with 45-degree corners. As far as capacity is concerned, I can cut up to 1.5 inches thick. I can bevel 45 degrees at 1.5 inches thick. I can cut up to 48 inches wide. And let's just say I've got a bigger piece. This will accommodate a 4x8 sheet of plywood. That's why I have this table. We made our track saw down there compatible with this so that these brackets will actually give you like an in-feet table. So I can set my plywood on that end, clamp off. And I can slide my plywood in. I get 48-inch wide cut this way, but I can also go 48 inches deep with the attachment. I've got a measuring mark. This has got measurements in the actual stick itself. I can slide that into the track here, and I've got a mark here, my 48-inch extension mark. So if I want to be 40 inches, set that 40 inches, lock it in place. I can slide my sheet in here. One of the things I have to do also is just to build that square fence here. So I've got something to register against to make sure that my piece is going in square, and it's going to square up back here and cut up to 48 by 48 inch piece on the table. If you want to cut anything else off table, you just get a couple of pieces of tack and you can do longer rips. You've actually got attachments with measuring tape in it. Attached to the track, you've got a variety of other options. So it's an incredibly flexible system. My quality of woodworking, because I don't have a ton of skills, I just build stuff with Kreg Tools, and the quality of the builds that I was making when I got this went up about 90%. It was so much better. All my joints were better. All my pieces looked better. It's just a fantastic system. People that are out there using it, again, it's a very highly rated system. It's just under the radar. Not a lot of people know we have this product. And when you don't need it, you fold this up, fold down the legs, roll it over in a corner, and stick it against the side of your garage. All of the accessories come with it, stored on board, so you don't have to worry about losing your accessories. And it just stays there until you need it. Pull it out, set it up, make your cuts, and you're done. So, all right, well, we're going to talk about this real quick. We do have a variety of other tools. I just couldn't bring everything in the shop. But a gentleman was kind enough to bring this in. This is a product, again, that really got us started in the cutting world. And this is our rip cut, which takes your circular saw and turns it into an edge-guided. You just mount your circular saw in here, you clamp it down, clamp your shoe in place right here at the very front. It registers up against the side here. You'll calibrate it one time when you first get it. That's your calibration mark right here. You can move that. So calibrate it one time. The instructions are in the box, but it's very simple to do. And what you can do is you can slide that anywhere from 1 inch all the way out to 48 inches. And it's designed for ripping. So you're going to go the long edge. Of course, you guys all know what ripping is, so I'm not going to elaborate. But you just focus on this hand, put your saw in this hand, and you just work that down the edge of your sheet, the factory edge of your sheet. You'll get consistent panels each time you cut. They'll all be the same length. We then came up with another product called the AccuCut, which turns your circular saw, uses the same exact sled, but it turns your circular saw into a track saw. And it's got zero clearance for splinter-free cutting, and that's how you do your cross cuts. But this is like a $40 tool, $45, and then the AccuCut I think is around $80. So you can have something to break down your plywood if you're just beginning to build. This is a great solution to going out buying a table saw or a track saw and all that stuff. Take advantage of the tools you already have. Circular saw. I have one thing I want to talk about because this is kind of an important transition for Kreg. You're going to start to see some things coming out of Kreg that you've never seen before. We've always been known as the pocket hole joinery company. We want to change that position in the market. We don't want to be the pocket hole company any longer. We want to be the joinery company. So you're going to see some tools coming from us in the next anywhere from 6 months from now, into next year and into the year following, you're going to see some tools that step way outside of what you typically would think about Kreg as far as wood joinery is concerned. Talking about loose tin, talking about dowels. We're talking about all sorts of different types of joinery products. And again, we're going to apply our innovative process to those tools because the process that we use is not real to help find out how to make the most efficient and effective and easy to use tools possible. So you're going to see some really, really fun and interesting things coming out of Kreg here in the next 1 to 3 years. So that's all I got.
Overloaded right now with all the information. There's a lot of great things that I wasn't aware of. Yeah, it's gonna make our job a lot easier. I have a question. This, crack sauce is.
Right.
First of all, a couple things. How much does that basic system cost, and then what would it take for me to put a new, like, 8-foot pieces of lumber?
Okay. So this retails for $1,099 for everything here. Saw, track, table, base, everything. So a little bit more expensive than a decent table saw. You can get a pretty decent table saw for about $1,000. You're not going to get it in the soft shop for $1,000. You get a pretty decent table saw. And then you got to look at the miter saw capabilities as well because I use this more as a miter saw, probably as much as a miter saw as I do as in my table saw applications. So overall, in the grand scheme of things, this thing just it exceeds my expectations every time I use it. And as long as you calibrate it properly, read the instructions manual, and do those things. And we've got all kinds of YouTube videos out there. Again, go visit our YouTube channel. For every product we make, we have a video usually on how to use it, and then all kinds of different tips and tricks. So we want you guys to be successful with our tools. So we put that information out there so you can use it. So.
What about the extension?
The extension, the brackets are about $30, $35. The track course here is $149. Yeah, you want to put the bracket in the clamp, and then you just basically build this out to whatever you want it to be. I put clamp track in it, you put the dog holes in it. So we just built this out, and what I do is I just cut my shop is only 12 feet wide and 20 feet deep. This is right in the middle of my shop. And I cut it here, I pull it back here, I do all my assembly right here. So this is my ND table and my assembly table. 3/4. So it doesn't work with the German stuff. Okay.
I haven't taken that track off the table yet. Is there a way to, when you take it off and you put it back on without having to recalibrate the track?
If you're going to take the track off, because the calibration is so easy, just using those two pegs up there to calibrate it, I would recommend recalibrating because even if it's off just a little bit, when you're talking about being off by a 32nd of an inch, over the length of that cut, that 32nd of an inch grows more and more as you get to the other end of the board. So I just always, in fact, whenever I get it, the first thing I do is whenever I'm getting ready to start a project, pop those in, just make sure that my rail is straight, and then I check my measurements on my table here, make sure that those are all set properly, and then I start cutting it. It takes me 3 or 4 minutes to do all that, and I know I'm going to have good results then. Yeah, no, we have 2 different tracks. We have an AccuCut. There's a separate product that works with that same shoe that turns your circular saw into a track saw. And then we have this, which is dedicated to our track saw. So this is designed to work with this saw. And yep. What I yeah. Each one of these tracks is 62 inches long, and we're actually coming out, I think, next year with a shorter piece. But you can put 2 of these together, buy a separate piece of track, and have a 122 inch, 124 inch. I think it's about 109 inches of cutting capacity. So if you want to go cross angle on a 4x8 sheet, you can do it. when I'm doing those longer ribs, because I had to do that with my wife's desk and the things were this long, I can't do that here, so I use it as a regular track saw, right? Ripped it and did my cross cuts. Any other questions?
One popular thing that a lot of people are adding on their work benches now is a detachable router table. So it's something that clamps on and can be hung up on a wall. Is that anything that Craig's exploring? Right now, I'm just seeing people with like templates that you buy online.
Right. I can't tell you that there's anything the conversations have been had. Yes, I can tell you that. But whether it passes the muster to get to actual design stages, I don't know yet. But they've had conversations about a work table that has interchangeable, basically interchangeable pieces that you can pop into the middle of it to turn it into a router table or something else. So,
You know anything about the motor? You know, it used to be a round table, I had a Ford cable 7418,
right.
4 horsepower. Ford cable is discontinued that.
Right.
So, whose motor are you guys selling now?
We don't sell motors. Yep. We got the lift, we got the tables. The only motor we sell is this guy, and we have our Foreman, which is a bigger, like a bench top machine that has a drill that comes in from the bottom. Just pull the handle down and the drill that comes in and makes pocket holes. It's a nice model. I can have room to bring that, but the Foreman sells for like $349. For you guys who really want pocket holes on steroids, that's a great option for you. But those are the only, except for in our industrial machines. We don't sell tools with motors on for the most part. Might see a little change. I'm saying, might be something coming. I don't know.
Well, this is really a question for the group. I'm hoping Lance and Mike can kind of help and chime in a little bit. So Lance, you even said at one point that the screws are kind of expensive. And they are, but they're awesome, right? I mean, I don't know that there's a good replacement for them. They're a good thing to have for sure.
Right.
Using the screw system. So if you go to, Menards or you buy 100 of them, you're gonna pay 8 or 10 cents a piece. But if you buy 5,000 at a time, you can get it for less than 6 cents a piece. So I'm wondering if collectively there's enough people interested in buying 5,000, split them up. You want 500, you can get it for 2 cents a piece. 1,000, you get it for 2 cents a piece.
I think in your set, that he's got inch and a quarter in fine.
So inch and a quarter course is probably the most common.
Right.
Used.
We have fine and coarse. Fine is for your hardwoods, coarse is for your softer woods like plywood and pine and poplar, things of that nature. But I know in your assortment that you've got 1,200 count of both of those, fine and coarse.
You can buy the individual ones in quantities of 4,000.
Yep, you can buy both.
For less than $100, right?
He can order them. Both.
So if there be any guys out there, I'm not saying tonight to commit to it, but just think about that. We can buy quantities of 5,000, get them away.
Yep. I can't sell. I don't sell direct, but I can get them to a retailer. I don't think next year would be good. I think the year after would be better. Maybe spring of 2026. This 2025, that's not going to cost the end of the year. So I think it'd be better to maybe look at that and see if we can maybe get it so I can plan another trip around this event and see if we can line it up. Give this guy some credit because he literally spent 2 years bugging me until I. More applause than me because I tell you what, it's hard for me to get out, especially this far away from my home, where I can't just drive out and get back in a day. So he actually inspired me to build a trip around coming here. So I have 4 more days on the road that I'm going to do before I get to go back home, all because of Bob.
Good job, Bob.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I really enjoy doing these things, so I'm here while I take things apart. If anybody has any questions or wants to see anything up close, come up to the table, do whatever you like.
Okay. Okay, Ralph, are you saying anything? Okay, hold it. Let's
Final spiel there.
hold it.
We have.
Okay, everybody.
You want, Kurt, just give Curtis 1 minute to do a show and tell. We have to keep it tight. And Norm, did you bring these plates for a reason? Okay, so Norm has $2 plates if you want them.
A year ago, I went to woodworking, basic 101 woodworking, is that what they call it, at Mark Adams, 5-day class. And this was one of 2 projects that we did that day, that whole week. This is a red oak. I brought it in last year in 2 pieces, the top and the frame. And I brought it in unfinished. This is Rubio, guys. This is the red oak. Okay, both the frame and the tabletop. It's all handmade, just like everything else. It's all jointed, got splines in it, the whole shoot match. For a couple of different reasons. It was about 8 months before I got a chance to put Rubio on it. I can't say anything bad about Rubio, guys. This really looks good. I'm really, really happy with this. And this is my project from a year ago. I leave at 2 o'clock this morning tomorrow morning to go to class up there. So I'll be presenting some of that stuff that I learned this week in August. I think I've got one month I'm signed up for. But anyway, I told you, I brought it in pieces a year ago. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. I'll give you guys an update. Okay, here's your update.
I have one 30-second comment, and that is I have been for the last 25 years using a Kreg pocket jig called the Kreg 2000. I'm still using it, but I might have to upgrade here. So please make sure that you leave a tip for the servers. I think, what else am I forgetting, Bob? Oh, you've got a metal one. Yeah, mine's the first plastic one. So. Oh, wow.
I've built thousands and thousands of bolts in that thing.
Yeah, they stand up.